And welcome back to another episode of Psychic Evolution. I'm Jamie Clark.
And I'm Maggie Clark, and this is the podcast where you discover the psychic potential within to empower yourself and manifest your psychic and mediumship gifts. And today we're dedicating this podcast episode to orbs, orbs of light. What are they? Are they our loved ones, angels, spiritual beings? Let's dig into orbs, Jamie. What stories do we have today?
Well, I do this all day long, and for myself, I have taken pictures personally, my own phone, that's my own phone, not someone else taking it and doing CGI and all that kind of good stuff. But in that, I was wanting to put some things to the test, and I had a friend come over, and we were sitting there and started putting the open call out, and I wanted to see if some of my loved ones would come through. Well, the person was taking some pictures, and they caught a number of orbs that were in the picture that weren't seen while they were physically taking the picture, but it appeared on the camera. And for some reason, cameras seem to be able to kind of hold that pattern in place. The human eye doesn't seem to catch it all of the time, but for whatever reason, the camera usually has that. Now, to my awareness, there's a blending of many different aspects and beings that are connected to orbs. But in addition, I've found that there are times where loved ones or whomever it might be will come around as an orb so that people aren't freaking the frick out, man. You start seeing, bodily people, it's like, oh, that's a whole different energy. And so the ability to have orbs, and from my awareness, the circle, or in this case, the orb, is the perfectly designed energy with no restrictive flow in any way. It can go any direction. Now, another aspect that I was having fun with, I wanted to see if my friend who was taking the pictures, that if I could do anything from me and see if there would anything that would come up on a picture, if there would be. And so I was standing at the little kitchen table, and I started feeling and seeing my energy moving up out of my big head. And coincidentally, there is no coincidence, my friend took a picture, and you can see what looks like a different vibe of energy. It's not just the regular house and, all that. It seems to be connected to my big head, and in this case, going up above my head. And I thought, oh, that is a little bit of the essence to go, hey, it's all energy. And in that, for me to be able to take that energy and have it photographed, in this case, that was outside of the physical body, gave me a click point of information to go, oh, so we're not limited to only one way of being able to interact with this dimension. There are many other capacities and dynamics, and it's really cool when we have that firsthand experience.
Was it an orb of light or like a beam of light from your head?
Excellent. It was almost like it was like a wavy kind of, and it wasn't like a precision light or anything like that, but it was a lighter energy that seemed to, I don't know, just kind of nebulous type of a thing. It wasn't straight and whatever. It was just energy flow. And having that firsthand experience to go, that was just a conscious choice. I wanted to see if anything would even come out, and it did. So we should take time, and we should have some fun with that and do some things on our own and see if we can get other things, and then follow it up with the orbs and some of what we're doing. Because for me, it's not only humans, angels, extraterrestrials, interdimensionals, others can come through as an orb of light or many other different ways. So it becomes an energy vibe of feeling that orb of light. And what I mean by that is, for me, if I see an orb of light, I'll put an energy call out, in this case, to go, okay, who is this coming through? And they will answer, bip, or they disappear. And so it's really cool that my loved ones have come through and given me that solid, for me, the solid validation. Go, I was asking for particular people to come through, and then coincidentally, those pictures were taken, wasn't seen apparently from my friend while they were taking the picture, but afterwards, looking at the picture on the phone, it was there. And there was one of them that was like an orb of light, and it had like a streak following it. So I'm not quite sure what that streak of light is, except that it might be residue from the direction of where this soul print, or in this case, this orb of light, is coming from. But it's an amazing experience, because the multidimensionality of these orbs, not only is it in this dimension, but more than likely can manifest in many other dimensions and not lose itself to it, but find itself within it.
We did have that one time we put this to the test, Jamie, and I know you're going to remember this moment in your life because we were married that time. So on our wedding day, we decided to do a whole bouquet of flowers dedicated to our loved ones on the other side. And it was beautiful. It was this beautiful bouquet of white with splashed with a little bit of red. And this represented, when we chose this bouquet, we're like, this is going to represent our loved ones. They're here with us in spirit. So we have pictures in front. This was very much of a centerpiece of where we got married. And there's pictures of this bouquet and us behind the bouquet, standing on a bridge together. And the orbs that were around the bouquet of flowers and then around us was phenomenal. It was layers upon layers upon layers of orbs.
And different colors on
Yes,
some of those.
and all different colors. And so our loved ones in spirit completely showed up in those orbs. And the photographer was like, I didn't do any editing on these. And it looked like the orbs were following you around. I'm like, they were.
They were.
They absolutely were.
Also, the video where you're walking and it's like, for whatever reason, that sun just kind of, but it wasn't the sun, just kind of brightened up, and it looked like a beam of light that was following you as you were coming down and over the bridge area. I just thought that was amazing.
And some of this was light refraction from the sun. Absolutely. The sun was shining. So we do have some refractions of light, but we definitely have these beautiful, beautiful orb. I don't know. They were huge, and there were so many and multicolored. It was amazing. And so with these orbs of light, we deliberately asked our loved ones to, of course, come to our wedding, and we asked all our spirit teams to be with us. So we had a huge showing of a conglomerate of not just our loved ones that we knew here, but our spirit teams, layers upon layers upon layers. So when we ask for these orb validations that our loved ones are around, a lot of times we get this, and we have lots of people taking pictures of orbs or filming them on video, and they're connecting with their loved ones this way. And it is such a beautiful validation when it could be caught on camera or caught on video, and you could play it back. But in the moment that you're seeing this, you're like, I know that this is my loved one. And that knowing is something that we want to honor. We really want to honor when we feel the connection of our loved ones around us or our spirit teams around us. And that connection can be seen with these orbs of light. And we're always looking at these pictures going, okay, is it a refraction of light, or is this actually an orb or many orbs, or is it a speck of dust that's just traveling around this video? And so these are all the things that we analyze when we look at these pictures.
And at least question it. But in addition, it kind of brings up a very interesting point, is that was our focal point for our loved ones. And coincidentally, they were all right around the very honoring, in this case, object that we were wanting them to connect with. And so in this case, it more than likely became a telltale sign, which it was, that it was our loved ones who we had invited to the wedding. So they made sure that they knew, oh, that's specifically connected and it's right around that. Plus, it's around us, and it's beautiful because it does vibe where there are different orbs and there are different colors on some of the orbs. And it's really cool because it just became a blending and a blessing of connection.
So in that, orbs could represent so many different things. And we've seen elementals show up as orbs. We've seen angels show up as orbs. We've seen obviously our loved ones as orbs. So anytime we do see these orbs of light, ask yourself, who does this feel like and what does this feel like? Does it feel connected to like a human lifetime? Does it feel connected to one of my angels or spirit team? Does it feel connected to the elementals? Because this is the way that we can start analyzing our energy reads of these orbs of light. Even if you don't have answers, ask the questions anyway, because there's some kind of answers that we have inside of us when we are asking the questions. So we just want to kind of pull that up into our consciousness more. So keep asking those questions. And then, of course, if it's a refraction of light, it's okay too. Sometimes those are cool. Sometimes you can have refractions of light and orbs, or one or the other. Now, a lot of times we look and like, oh, that's definitely a light refraction, so we don't know. There will be many times we see orbs where we are unsure. But if you are catching flashes of light out of the corner of your eye, pick up your phone, pick up a camera, just snap a couple pictures, see if something comes up, and then look at it and ask yourself, who and what does this feel like?
It's interesting. I'm sitting here and I'm listening to what you're beautifully sharing. And Chi, my master guide, dropped into my mind because there was one time in my life where whoop, I always merge with the oneness, and it's always I am. For whatever reason, it's I am is the words. But there was one time that I was able to see 360 degrees. I'm like, how the frick is that possible? I'm used to the human form, in this case of eyes and seeing in front of you and all that. And she just let me know that perfectly orbed energy, that orb of light, is 360 degrees. I just became the essence of light and was able to effortlessly view from that point. And I'm like, oh, that's freaking brilliant. And what's interesting is it's just like a moment ago is where he showed that to me. So I'm like, oh, that's nice, because Chi is very understanding and very compassionate, also very empowering. So he's a lot of times very direct with the information. That way there's no mincing and did you really mean? It's like, bip, nope, and be consistent. But I'm thinking like, God, that makes sense, because it is the awareness of our spiritual sight that is 360 degrees. There is no limit. It is not only one angle. It is everywhere at once. And I think that for me, that's a huge validation that she just shared with me, because I'm like, oh, duh, that kind of makes sense. And again, I still don't know how it was possible, except that apparently in an orb way, 360 degrees is the viewpoint of everything. But it's really cool because I was still, and I, at the moment, still am in this physical body. I was just unified with the oneness when I was experiencing this. But it wasn't like I was having to try to focus. It's I am. And it just is. I don't know what to do, except I was just looking everywhere going, oh my God, this is amazing. And there was no fear. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to be tilted and, I'm trying to see too much. It was just, I am. And for me, I always share that every time I unify with the oneness, yeah, it's the I am thing. But it's also that there is no separation with anything. Truly, everything is interconnected in every way. And having my own spiritual experiences and having a reference, in this case, to that 360 degrees of viewpoint was a huge dynamic, because until just a few minutes ago, I was still going, I don't know how the frick that's possible, but it happened. And now as we're talking about that, that's why they can be, to my awareness, they can do different shapes and different directions. It doesn't have to only be one way to go. It is versatility. So I think that that's really cool, because not only is it the orbs, but as Mag and I were sharing, there's a video that was taken, and our photographer is a professional photographer. We know her. So it wasn't like it's some Joe Schmo and they're just doing a bunch of stuff. This is a photographer who's a lovely person, and she does question things. So for her to have her own cameras and taking those pictures and videos, she had no choice but to go, I don't understand it, but that just happened. I just wanted to mention that the video, in this particular video that we're talking about, was taken from my daughter-in-law. And that connection was, that's two different people with two different, in this case, cameras because I believe that my daughter-in-law was using her phone and our other person was using professional cameras and that type of thing. So what that tells me is there is no limit for how you can connect with orbs of light. They can show up in many different ways and capacities. And there are times where you might see videos where there's orbs that are flying outside and sometimes multiple orbs. What if that is just the blending of our soul prints of consciousness, our loved ones in this case, that are coming around, and that power in numbers kind of thing, the more that it's there, unless you're sensitive and using your abilities, the stronger that vibe gets that can speak loudly to you.
And always watch if you're seeing the orbs with the naked eye, or like seeing it on a video as you're videoing something, always ask and always look at how the orbs move, because it can separate what's a speck of dust as it just is floating through the air versus, an orb that might be going back and forth and up and down. And the more erratic the movement, I think the better validation that this could be a loved one's consciousness moving it around versus just traveling with the breeze or going with the flow of maybe if your air conditioner kicks on and it creates a current of air. So just watch the patterns and watch if they move back and forth, up and down, because some of the better orb validations that we see from our loved ones, they will have more of an erratic pattern because they're like, hey, look at me. I can go back and forth and up and down, and I am not just going with the flow of the dust in the room if there is dust in your room. And so here in Arizona, we have a lot of dust. There's a lot of dirt here. It's very dry. However, this is a really fun way to, and you can ask the orb, hey, if you are my loved one, can you shift and move a little bit more up and down or right or left, and then see what happens? I don't know anyone who's gotten those types of validations where they could ask an orb and it actually moves, because a lot of times the orbs are caught on camera, but they're not seen when you're videoing. You just see it after you're replaying something, or you took a picture and then you look at it. So a lot of times we don't see these orbs. We've had lots of psychic mediums who are working with their gifts do these orb studies, these orb validations to connect to their loved ones, spirit teams, all of these things. And they are phenomenal, phenomenal. There's all kinds of stuff that we've seen that's just been amazing.
I'm like, click. That's an interesting aspect because that triggers me in a good way to go. I work with Gary and Rhonda Schwartz, lovely people and scientist aspects at the University of Arizona in Tucson, U of A. And I'm looking like we have our A team and other beings that are there. Why not see if we can do a session with the scientists in this way and see if we can call forth some of our A team and see if they'll come through as orbs or however they might come through. Because I'm like, oh man, that's brilliant. I love it because it's also, for me, is the energy. I'm not a scientist or a doctor, but they've found that humans are basically energy, vibrational light beings. Which, isn't that interesting that a lot of times those orbs are light? What if that is just the natural shape, in this case, of our soul print of consciousness? It is perfectly orbed with no restrictive flow in any way. But I'm like, oh man, because at least for me, we haven't done that particular stepping forward aspect. We've done it with our team, but it was the information that was shared. Let's see if we can also get some of their soul prints of energy on film, on camera, and see who we will ask to step forward and if they'll come through. Because why not give us an association to go, not only is it a conscious receiving of information, but a visual, physical seeing of information and connection as well.
One of the most amazing soul tracing memories that I've had is when I didn't have a physical body, but I was beams of light in geometric patterns and shapes. And it was so beautiful and so intense. And even in this soul tracing, I connected with a friend that I know in this life, and she appeared as the same kinds of beams of light. We were telepathically communicating. So there was the there's the consciousness, the sentience there, and yet we were just beams of light. But in that, we weren't balls, because there was something about the geometric patterns that were creating energy pathways and flows. But it was also a soul tracing memory, where it was a lifetime type of experience. Like, this was the way it was when you were incarnated in this energetic life experience in wherever this was. It was very, very, very cool. It felt more starseed energy, more alien type of frequency. Definitely not human. Humans have bodies, but it was very cool that those lights showed up so impressively. But they were different than the orbs too, so that's very fascinating. But when we think about also celestial bodies, most of them are round, right? So we have these beautiful planets that are round. They are celestial bodies of energy. Why couldn't orbs be celestial bodies of spiritual energy? Such a beautiful concept, right?
Yeah, and so much more. But there was also a time where I have seen, from me, the holographic field. And like Mag is saying, it's fascinating to me because each shape has its own unique shape. It's not all the same shape, but they all fit perfectly together. I'm thinking, what if there's a potential that some of those shapes are connected to dimensions or worlds or whatever it is, and if they go through that particular shape, they'll vibe with that particular shape. So I'm curious, because if it can be beams of light and circles of light, in this case orbs of light, why not other shapes? Because there is no limit. All you have to do is get creative with how you shine your light. And as these experiences happen, please, as Mag and I always say, please question everything. Question it all. That way you get more of the practicality of spirituality. And that's why I really enjoy the pictures that I have that was taken with my phone, so that it wasn't someone else, again, doing CGI and going, here it is. It was, no, I trusted this friend and I trust them. So for them to sit right there and be using my phone, they didn't take out a different phone. It was my phone. And getting those was also a very interesting dynamic, that not only is it, the orbs, but that I was able in my own way to kind of share my light, shine my light up above, because I wanted to see if it would even pick anything up. And again, it's very light, but you can see that in the air above my big head, there's what looks like a wave of light that's more nebulous. It's not precision, it's nebulous. But I'm thinking, if I can consciously connect with that energy and take it outside of the physical body, what if that remote viewing and teleportation and all that stuff is real? Just working with the vibrational patterns of energy.
So we want to see your orbs, man. Tag us on Instagram or Facebook. We really want to see your orb of light pictures. And of course, you can join us in the Psychic Evolution Facebook group page if you would like to show us there as well. But we love these pictures. We love to look at them. We love to analyze them. We like to what does this feel like? So we'd love to see the orbs. We have clients all the time sending pictures of orbs and videos of orbs just to validate things as well as that comes up. Yeah. It's a huge validation for some of the mediumship energy that people want validation. Hey, I want to be validated that you're here. And so sometimes this is one way that people will ask for the validations that their loved ones are around.
I gotta say, that kind of brings up an interesting dynamic for me is yes, the orbs aspect, but there have been a number of times I have people record the sessions, and the client is sitting in front of me on the couch, and they've got their phone on the center of the table, so that way they can hear my big face, as I always playfully say. There have been times when we're talking about a loved one, and their phone, it flies off the table, and they're like, what the? I'm like, I didn't touch it, right? That's your phone. The table's not angled like that, so it would go quickly. And it literally, they had no choice but to go, I didn't see anyone push it. I didn't see any of that. So now we get into the aspect of it's all energy. Not only can it be physically interactive with this physical world, but metaphysically interactive with how we can see and view things. That way it becomes a multidimensionality of communication. And so it's really cool because the people are very surprised. They're not fearful because they know anyone coming to me is only on the good channel or I do not exist. That's the solidness of knowingness with confidence, not cockiness. So it's nice when those experiences happen and they've got the medium standing or sitting right in front of them to go, you're talking about this person, and coincidentally. But my thing is also when that happens, I'm like, can you play that recording back? See if there might have been a sound, a voice, anything right at that time. Because I've got this insatiable hunger, man. It's like, well, what does that mean? And could that mean this? What about that? There's this type of a connection that I've got an insatiable hunger that I want to nourish my soul of awareness. And if I can gain more information and insight in any way and possibly share it, and maybe if others choose to connect with it, they can help themselves.
Another really cool story, just a story time right now, is we have a really good friend that was meditating. And in her meditation, she was calling on her loved ones and her spirit team. And she was in a deep place of meditation. And then lo and behold, during the meditation, someone or many someones from the other side of her spirit team took pictures on her phone. And when she pulled them up, there was a bunch of orbs and beautiful colors. I think it was like this really beautiful pink and rich fuchsia color, but all these little white orbs on it. And this came literally, she didn't have her phone open. She was meditating, yet her spirit team or her loved ones or both, right? A combo deal, landed these pictures on her phone. And I think there was a handful of pictures, more than one. There was like 8 or 10 pictures.
And on one of those, it literally looked like it could have been a landscape in some way. From my awareness, that's why I always say I never talk to the dead. There are none. As we perceive it, right, we die in this dimension and then we go to the other side after this. And my thing is aren't we right now living on the other side of where we come from before here? Does that mean we must have died? Or could it just be a shift in consciousness from vibrational patterns of energy? And if we can learn to make our own connections with our loved ones, our spiritual team, whoever we would like to in a good way, it is going to establish a stronger pattern, because we get enough people making these connections, you literally can create the tipping point of consciousness. And that is when even more information will flow into your conscious awareness to go, I feel like I'm being spoken to. I feel like the universe is speaking to me, or our loved ones, or whomever they are. And it's really very cool, because this is not only what we do, but it is the essence of who we are. And for myself to have some of those firsthand experiences to go, I have no choice but to go. I just experienced it. I don't understand it, but holy cow. And being able to register that. And just like I was sharing just a few minutes ago, Chi is sharing that perfectly orb, the 360 degrees of viewpoint. I'm like, oh, God, that's brilliant. That makes sense. And he keeps it very simple. But I question that to go, well, how come all of these times, all of these years in this case, that he didn't say anything? He's like, because it wasn't time. Real time in a real way. And you know what? That's another dynamic. I think I might try that. I'm going to ask Chi to come through and see if I can take a few pictures and if anything comes up.
Nice.
Yeah. And if we get anything, we'll share it.
And this is one of the reasons we also love aura photography with Carillion photography, because we see most of the time the auric field creates a orb, a ball of light that's more rounded. It's usually looks more circular. And also our spirit orbs from loved ones or from guides will show up around our heads sometimes as orbs of light. And so some of the aura photography, you can catch it on there as well. But again, we are a body of light individually. So to have our loved ones and to have our spirit team show up as bodies of light, this is very natural. It's so natural. It's supernatural.
And give this gift to yourself and your loved ones. Keep that connection, and they will try to help you to help yourself. And when we can learn to live with them in their new reality like they're learning to live with us in ours, it becomes the experience of life. And when we can keep those connections in whatever way feels good for us, that love, that communication of self-realization to go, not only is it my loved ones that are the orbs and other aspects, but Apparently I am too. Oh, so when we realized that, to me, these are just physical bodies, kind of like a car we drive in or a truck around this, we, as the occupant of that truck, our soul print is the occupant of this vehicle. And this is not the only vehicle that we've lived in and driven around, so to speak. And in that connection for the eternal soul, for that reincarnation as we perceive it, the ability to have your soul essence, because I believe they've basically found that about every 7 years, you have a whole new body, a whole new set of 50 trillion cells. And in that, if you have a whole new body every 7 years, who is the constant thinker within all of those new bodies? Your soul print of consciousness. So what if this vehicle, with the awareness, you can go out of this vehicle and travel around? Because it's not just our loved ones, but there may be other beings and other aspects, extraterrestrials as we perceive it, that are able to come around and not be intrusive, but observant. And in that connection, that's why for Mag and I, if I see something with my physical eyes or my metaphysical eyes, I'll ask, okay, who is this? Because I know that anyone coming around me is only on the good channel. As Mag and I said, for me, that's a big thing. Safety first. I want the confidence to be able to open up, to go, okay, here we go. Instead of, I hope I'm safe. And I'm like, nah, frick that. That confidence of being able to be safe and receptive is huge. And what if the more receptive and open you are, that our loved ones or whomever it is knows how receptive you are, that they can come in and interact right up to that point of comfort, not making it uncomfortable, but comfort, and bringing us that soul print of consciousness, bringing us the love of connection. And the great thing is they want us to know that there is no death, that it is an eternal life.
And as we move forward, we do feel greatly into this technological age where we do feel there can be more communication through electronics, whether it's a message on a phone, whether it's a phone call from heaven, whether it's an orb of light. So be open and make your connections and have fun with your psychic evolution.
Again, these abilities are so natural, they're supernatural. Let's have some fun and make these connections for ourselves.